If you look at some of the more established firms, there are some really talented associates or principals or junior
Yeah.
partners, and they sort of look up the ladder and they realize, like, I'm never really going to be a partner here. But then they look into the market and say, I love being an investor, but I don't want to be a fund manager, right? Meaning, I don't want to have to go out and spend 75% of my time for the next 18 months, like scratching and clawing to raise $15 million and dealing with compliance and legal and IR and all that other stuff. And so you have this gap, right, of these people who are sort of sitting in the middle where they're really good and talented investors, but they're just sort of stuck at their like legacy fund, right, where they're never going to become like the partner. And even if they do become the partner, maybe the fund got so big already that like they're never really going to be like generating carry. On the other hand, they're like, I don't feel like I have the aptitude for fund management. I just want to wear the investor hat, not the fund manager hat. And so I think that's also a challenge, is how do you make sure that the emerging managers that are coming out and that we're evaluating are sort of the best of the best, versus sort of like leaving behind a lot of really talented investors who could be good emerging managers or solo GPs, but just don't want to like go through that torturous journey of like 18 months of fundraising and fund management, right? I think you have to evaluate not just the manager sitting in front of you, but what does the actual ecosystem look like? What does great look like? And is the manager sitting in front of you great? Or are they just willing to sort of like absorb the torture of fundraising, whereas like the great investors maybe don't want to do that, or
Yeah.
some great
Yeah.
investors don't want to do that, right? And so it's not just who's the best person sitting in front of you, it's are we allocating to the real best of the best, or are we just like allocating to whoever is willing to go out and jump when it's 2025 and it's a hard environment? So that's something that we also spend time thinking about.